Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I just read out Invictus, a poem by William Ernest Henley. It is one of the most memorable use of an epiphonema. Epiphonemas are literary devices that are close cousins to metonyms and synecdoches. It's also not to be confused with denouements. You don't have to know what those last three things are, I'm just showing off. Epiphonemas are basically the final sentence in a piece of media, used as punctuation to create a mnemonic device to invoke memories and feelings. For example, the final words in the Harry Potter book series were "all is well." It's not meant to mean anything, but rather to encapsulate the feeling of the book. When a reader reads "all is well," they are supposed to remember the venture, the journey to get to "all is well," and the feelings that incited in that time. Your nostalgia bait, for example. Epiphonemas are powerful because they contain the feelings and memories of everything that came in the work before it. I use epiphonemas a lot. And isn't that a good life? Because that's how reality works. Is so they don't have to look at you. It's mnemonic. You don't have to remember my whole video. You just remember the final words. And hopefully the rest of the video, the feelings it invoked and the conclusions you've seen will flood back to you. When used properly, it can be a great way to regain the memories and feelings of a fleeting time, as well as retain lessons learned and knowledge. One of my favorite YouTuber, Ian Danskin, does this a lot in his Outright Playbook videos.
When business gets done, white folks need to split the check. This is their version of "a wizard did it." For the right, left to its own devices, all roads lead to Rome.
Because of my dumbass aphantasia, I don't remember any single specifics of his videos. For example, never play defense. I don't remember anything about it, even though I've watched it like a dozen times. However, I remember the final words of that video.
So if someone tries to force you to play defense, you don't have to play.
To someone who has not watched that video, it's meaningless. But to me, even though I don't remember the specific contents in that video, I remember what I learned. I remember what the video tried to teach me. It's the literary equivalent of putting a post-it note at the door to remind you to lock it. That's basically how this literary device works. But people like me and Ian are doing it in good faith. I've checked my sources, done research and interviews, went out for investigation, and had a cheeky wank. So when you remember my final words, you remember those information, and everything that comes with it, including the effort put into research and fact-checking. Humans are limited. We cannot learn everything and depend on condensation of knowledge to learn. And final words are a great mnemonic device for that. This is great when the person we are gaining that knowledge from is trustworthy, but that same system can be abused. Because final words are powerful, and with great power, there must also come great responsibility. See what I did there? That's also an epiphonema. It's Uncle Ben's final words. I'm so smart. But because of their power, we should also talk about how epiphonemas encourage extremism. A fascinating thing about epiphonemas is that because it captures the entire experience of a person with their media, different people will understand and experience the same final words differently. For example, Invictus's epiphonema, "I am the captain of my soul," makes me remember my survival with a bout of depression and the publication of my first novel, because this comic adaptation of the poem by Zen Pencil was what I was analyzing during that time of reading the poem, and those feelings, memories, and knowledge are unique to my experience of it. Depending on what you experience while being exposed to an epiphonema, your memory and feelings will differ. The problem is, extremists have a tendency to make use of epiphonemas before hiding them as slogans. Imagine you go to a Klan rally. The leader walks up to the podium and riles you up, gets you all emotional with talks about God and the Bible. He tells you everything you want to hear, all the racist dog whistles of how you're the best in the world, all the stereotypes that gets your blood pumping and adrenaline rising, about how people of other races are criminals and evil, nationalistic rah-rah that gets you feeling patriotic, and by the end of it, you're cheering, high off the endorphins running through your veins. You know for sure that if you were to ever look back on that moment, in your memories, those emotions of nationalism and bigotry filled with addictive adrenaline will be what you feel. And then the Klan leader says, "Make America great again." You don't actually remember everything before that. In fact, I don't even think you will remember everything I said 10 seconds ago. But that's the point. When Trump supporters are asked questions, they famously don't know anything, but they remember how it makes them feel. The emotions and lessons are clear. They talk about closing the borders but have no plans. They talk about terrorists but don't know what it does. They remember the answers but not the math. This is a common thing with extremist groups. They find phrases that can be used as final words and slip them into media and speeches. "It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve," says a pastor as a punchline after an hour of homophobic sermons. Don't remember the sermon? No problem. Actually, it's even better if you don't remember, because then you can't analyze it for mistakes. Just remember the phrase and the feelings will override all your facts. Basically, if the information that comes from the final words are lies and hate, that's what you remember. It's great power holding the trust of your audience in the palm of your hands and using it irresponsibly. It should be noted that epiphonemas often become slogans because they have very similar functions, but while they both have a hand in taking snapshots of feelings, a slogan is mainly used to encapsulate an idea, whereas epiphonemas are specifically used to capture memories. It's finger licking good or just do it doesn't need backstories, but this number does. To anyone else not as plugged in as I, this number is meaningless, but it is actually the most racist number on earth. And if you're like me and know what this number means, I'm so sorry for your life. This sucks, right? But also you might be thinking that's not an epiphonema, and you are correct because you're handsome, beautiful, smart. But it was meant to be. And that's the most interesting property of final words, because it's the rare case where a piece of media can evolve. Set in stone, written in ink, captured in photos. All these phrases are meant to denote that media don't change. Once you've made a version of it, that's what that version will be. And generally, that's the rule. Media is a record of the times, but it also moves forward with us. And if an epiphonema is meant to capture our memories, our feelings, then so long as we are alive, its meaning can change. The final words of Harry Potter was "all is well." But as we all know, all was not well. J.K. Rowling showed herself to be a supervillain, almost comically so. This is a picture of a Bond villain, right? And everything she has done had changed the feelings and memories of all is well. No longer do I think of the great fight between good and evil, of the adventure and growth into adulthood, or even my childhood crush on Luna Lovegood. I think of bigotry, of transphobia, of a woman who hates so much that she went out of her way to make the lives of her fellow humans worse. The present has changed my past emotions. All is well evolved into something else. However, making you feel worse is not the only direction these evolutions can go. Manga can make you feel proud now, make you remember power and privilege, but the things that make you get to those emotions are just stories. They aren't real, unreflective of the real world at least. But because those words are tied to your memories and experience, changing it can eventually change the feelings the epiphonema evoke. People who are exposed to extremist rhetorics need a new story, a better story, to override the feelings gained by the bad ones. A simple words with vibes can't really give reality to you. All is well is an epiphonema. Final words, but so is "Make America Great Again." They are not meant to actually mean anything. They are meant to encapsulate the journey of how the people saying it got there. And their journey doesn't have to be over. There are people out there who realize their journeys weren't over and change their minds for the better. So now, these final words, don't feel so final to them anymore. Their meanings have changed. They are basically saying, this is where my feelings led me and this is how I feel. That's how epiphanemas works. But as long as we breathe, feelings can change. We can change. That's what it means to be alive. We don't have to live the lie. If changing your mind can make you happier, can make people's lives better, you can just do that. People have done it before. They're not fixed, those horrors you fear, nor the hate that you were sold. The kind world is better because here, you are the captain of your soul. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to all my lovely Patreons and a shout out to my top tier Patreon BBQ. A relatively short video because hopefully my next video is gonna be really long. And I'm doing this video this way is because the next video I'm working on is relatively complicated and I really hope I can still get it out next month. Fingers crossed. This video was a straight up tongue twist. And epiphanemas is cousins of the is close cousin to the Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. YouTube is messing around with the algorithm again, and I don't know how it does for small channels like mine. I've never really done very well in the search engines. So any kind of support you can give through like social media and stuff, big help, big help. That's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.